Hello, good morning. My name is Tomás Labbé. I am an agronomist. My company's name is Expociruelas, and I'm a member of Prunova, an agricultural initiative. I would like to thank Chileprunes for this invitation. Thanks to all the participants in this event. I hope this is a contribution to this industry and especially to this event. I will show you a slide with the topics to be discussed. First, we're going to talk about the background of this topic related with productivity, quality, and the production cycle. Then we will discuss some technical issues, which is the core of this presentation. We will see the different strategies to be considered in order to achieve these goals. We will wrap up with the extension and innovation, because what's most important is that this has to be disseminated and be available for all producers. Well, to start with, the key is to be capable to achieve our production goals. In order to do so, we must define two aspects. If we export fruit for fresh markets, mainly in China, or if our production goes to dehydration. As a main strategy and the objective, the most profitable one for producers is a mixed goal, where we have 30% of production for the fresh market export and 70% for dried prunes. And this combination gets the highest profitability, and the associated risk for each of these systems are reduced. Then we have to define what productivity and quality is, and we need to know what the potential for prunes is. One product must not be the same than another, because the product, the practices, the stories are different, and the prune conditions are different. Therefore, we must properly define what orchards are for. We must find a balance between kilos and fruit quality. We know that each orchard has a production limit in order to maintain some quality and condition parameters. And also, we have to generate a consistency and uniformity. It is useless to have an assorted focus each year and to have variations, and this is not welcome in the management in our orchards. Therefore, it is very important to be consistent in our production, and especially assuring size based on quality, and this is both for fresh market and dry prunes, and also assuring good conditions, the fruit sweetness, the pulp quality, the nutritional value for this fruit. This happens within a long productive cycle. It starts with pruning and it ends with the harvest and drying, where weather conditions impact on all the cycle stages. So we don't have to forget that all our management is related to this. There are many decisions that are based on the weather conditions and the plant metabolism, which is closely related to this. We must pay attention both to pruning, what we do during blooming, what we do during the vegetation development, and even during harvest. Needless to say, what is related to this season, because of the rains, it ruined all our plants, and this means we must pay full attention to weather conditions. Now, regarding handling decisions, the key is to find a balance on load regulation. I think this is the first important parameter to achieve expected and productivity and quality. And here we have two key moments. First is the winter pruning, and we must leave the right amount of necessary material. So we need a special This is a sort of a special tool for calculating what you estimate to produce and to see what type of shaft we will keep in the plants. And in that sense, the type of material left is quite relevant. It is not the same to have a chubby shaft with good buds with a weak shaft and a weak twig, because quality of the material will impact final productivity. The second relevant moment is thinning after curd. Ideally, we should not do thinning, but sometimes we make decisions based on weather conditions, making thinning necessary. This need of thinning is based on three aspects. First, we must define whether thinning is necessary. Second, we must define the thinning opportunity. And third is the thinning intensity. We should not worry about how much we cut, but how much load the tree has, as this will be part of the husband. Regarding timing and quality of thinning treatments, there is a clear standard. We have a harvesting team doing a very good job. Therefore, we should be able to do a good job in case we need it to do it. I wish we don't need it. Then we go to the second stage, and that is more relevant. It has to do with watering and nutrition. We have to include more parameters for our decision making. The soil pits are good, but are subjective and very basic. We must include objective monitoring and measurements, whether we use soil humidity probes, use of Scholander pumps, information retrieved from weather stations in order to have a good irrigation program. We have here two basic management strategies, and these are full demand strategy to fully meet what the weather station says, and another one is controlled water stress with very good results, and it allows to greatly reduce the water applied, and it also causes good effects on fruits. We must have to be careful in this handling because these positive effects may become negative effects when wrongly used. This is, for instance, a controlled water stress strategy without great stresses, which allows good management. In talking about watering, that should be not more than 6,000 or 6,500 cubic meters per hectare during watering season. Regarding nutrition, it is important to know that we have a permanent additional demand for the entire development of the orchard, both in vegetation and fruits. We must take care of nutritional contributions for vegetations and fruits, mainly in ground applications in case of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, etc., and in many cases for leaves, boron, zinc, magnesium, potassium, and even algae. This allows us to keep a balanced orchard, and to do this, we need to have proper strategies and proper tools for well-known extraction curves, and we can find this in many magazines. Also the use of analytics as well, to be able to make a nutritional follow-up, but at least to make foliar analysis to see the status of the orchard in order to define strategies for this season and for the coming season. We must also think about use of fertilizers. It is not the same mixing some incompatible fertilizers that loosen efficiency, and this work must be done with a good analysis and a good strategy, either for fertilization with not automated irrigation and for those with automated irrigation. So this is a very relevant point, as we need to know the conditions of each orchard in order to know how much we should use, especially when we have different production levels each year. Now we have a tool that is proved to be very good, and we have seen very good and also, on the other hand, very bad experiences as well. So we must be careful with the use of phytoregulators. With this, I will try to have an specification for the use at the time of the blooming, and this is the most explored and maybe most commented among producers. Then the use of phytoregulators for growth and development of fruits. Now, regarding the use of phytoregulators, in this case cyanamide or sprouting promoters, to adjust the date and flowering uniformity, we have to take into account that the use of these products provides many benefits but also some risks. So we must pay attention when these are used, the dosage, and sometimes to make the decision whether to use it or not. Not because we have it, we need to use it. It is something that we know, we have the experience, and some companies use them often, and others recently know it, but looking at the benefits that we must consider, but with care. The same in case of using fruit development products. We must define the opportunity in terms of phrenology. It is not the same to apply an X product during blooming, during fruit growth, or during ripening stage. So there are various phytoregulators to be considered. The use of auxin, glyberins, or cytokinins. Some of them have very positive effects, and others may cause, maybe because of a misuse, may cause some problems. For instance, losing fruit pressure, and in other cases, reducing the vegetation development. We must be able to use them, and we have to learn more about their features and their right dosage. We must also keep researching and also to advance on this, but I think we are on a good path. We must use them properly. Now, this is a very relevant part, that is harvest. In the harvest, we have the last stage of harvest and drying, but we may have a very good fruit in terms of diameter, a very beautiful fruit in an orchard, but during harvest we can also make the last finishing touches in order to dry the fruit we are interested in, or to harvest it in the case of export fruit. This means we have to know the fruit development curve, and we must also know that the fruit does not ripen at the same time. We know that blooming lasts at least 15 days. Therefore, it is not uncommon that we have maybe two groups of fruits, what started first and what flowered at the end. This makes us to be careful, especially about assessment of the harvesting time, knowing that the tree does not bloom at the same time. Therefore, it's impossible for it to finish its maturity evenly. Regarding this, the most relevant is that we have two concepts, and that is the harvest indicator and the maturity index. Harvest indicator tells us when we have to harvest by watching the right parameters. But on the other hand, the fruit ripens in a special manner. And if we can see the graph from the middle bottom, it depicts the fruit pressure and sugar accumulation. For fresh fruit, we use these parameters, but looking at the fruit color. For dry fruits, color is quite secondary, but pressure is quite relevant. We should concentrate that the pressure is our ripening indicator. The fruit keeps gaining sugar until reaching about 3 to 4 pounds of pressure. If I harvest before this time, with fruit having 7 to 8 pounds, probably I will not achieve the potential for this fruit to reach its best state. Same thing happens if I harvest as what happened this year, when fruit had between 2 and 1 pounds of pressure. that fruit did not continue gaining soluble solids till the end, but its Brix degree increased due to dehydration and water loss, but the plant stopped gaining sugar and when it has 3 to 4 pounds. With that in mind, considering the curves and uniformity, we have this initial definition of our goals, this mixed production for fresh export and for drying. But on the other hand, when we mechanize harvest, and I think we are going back to old harvesting, which has become more relevant, where we harvested with 4 passes, getting very good quality fruit, and in that sense and intentionally we were harvesting fruits at the right time. Today, with the mechanization, this led us to optimize the harvest in terms of fresh kilo, but we lose optimization of dried kilo. In that sense, farmers are trying to make the line of to do at least 2 harvest passes, even renting harvesting services, and you can see that the profitability is totally direct. So regarding harvest, I think the most important aspects is to know that the tree does not ripen in a uniform manner. The most relevant ripening indicator, especially for dehydrated fruit, is pressure, not sugar gain. Sugar gain is a result. It is important to define if I do sweep harvesting or else I do more passes. And I insist it is more profitable to do more harvest passes when producing dried fruit, both for productivity and optimal final gauge. Now, drying is the last point where we have things to do. Our concern is about oven drying or sun drying, and above all, with the sun drying, we must worry that this is a fruit, so we have to be able to think that we have to manage our drying field as a packing. So this should be a sort of sun packing, and the way how drying is performed changes. It is not only to arrange the fruits and wait for the sun to work, but actually to be concerned about the fruit where it is, especially when using various energy techniques to take care of both quality and safety of the fruit, and also worry about the most relevant parameter, that is humidity control. We must deliver fruit at the importer's reception with 19% of humidity. It is useless to finish drying with 18% of humidity if later the homogenization process with lower humidity to 16. We will lose kilos size, and at the end with the fruit we are losing quality and quantity, as we should have it when the fruit was on the tree and even harvested. So the invitation is to manage the drying fields more professionally by controlling humidity, especially in years like this. Regarding safety, we have detected mushrooms and other issues, but that is part of our work, regardless of rains. In order to wrap up, I want to talk about this challenge. We need this information to be available, as accessible as possible for all producers, and we believe extension and innovation are the key. As an example, we can show our work for about 1 year between the University of California and Pronova, where we have developed an extension and innovation program for European plum tree. We have designed training modules, we have discussed with some specialists, we have implemented knowledge banks for storing information, and for us, it is quite important to have this information available for everyone. We need more people involved, we need more producers participating, and we expect to be a contribution for this industry. Our main goal is to generate knowledge within reach to have a continuous improvement, but based on real problems. We do not need invented things, but we want you, producers, to show us the way. We want good teamwork, cooperation work, and what is important here is that nobody here is an expert, but we are here to contribute. We want to have the highest amount of best orchard practices. We do have a challenge in terms of monitoring. One thing is to do it, and another thing is to get the expected results, but with a focus on sustainability, economic, environmental, social sustainability. We have to be capable to do this. So this has been a review from the definitions of the background. We have described various management strategies, and the challenge is to have this information more available for everyone, because it is useless that we have a small group of farmers doing good things, but the whole industry must exceed performance in terms of productivity and quality. I hope this is a good contribution for the industry, and we have a lot more to do. We are world leaders, therefore we must be liable for this and other things to do. Thank you very much. I hope it was a good presentation, and I look forward to hearing from you. Goodbye.